Well, good evening and good afternoon to all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to another episode of Wind Down Wednesday with Keisha. And tonight's conversation is Greek versus non-Greek, the truth, the trauma, tradition. So, what I want to start off with saying that, I just want to be very transparent here because you do have two members of a sorority on here tonight. Um, Sam and I are both members of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, and Justin is a non Greek. So yes, the two of us do come into this conversation with lived experience, and we have a little pride about the organization that we have chosen to become a part of. But tonight is not about defending; it's about understanding, educating, and it's also about understanding because even within Greek life, not everyone's experience is the same, and the perception can be very different. So all of us join different organizations for our own personal reasons. No one has the same reason why they have chosen a particular organization, social and pleasure club, or what have you. So even if we don't have every perspective tonight in the room, because we don't have anyone from a fraternity here, we don't have every perspective, but we're going to honor them with honesty. And this is not to kind of defend anything. As I said before, it's about education for informational purposes. But before we get into everything, I just want to give some of you a little history who may not know the history of Greek life. So, just to start off, the first lettered Greek organization was Beta Kappa Society, which began in 1776. They focused on academia, debate, and intellectual growth. And this was started as a secret society, and it looks very different, because we've evolved as fraternity and sororities today from 1776. But of course, we all know well, we don't know. So the first black fraternity was Alpha Phi Alpha, who was incorporated in 1908. And the first black sorority was Alpha Kappa Alpha, the AKAs, which was formed in 1908. So the reason why black organizations were created, it wasn't created to exclude anyone. I just want to get that clear. So it's not about exclusivity. They were created out of necessity, right? And because at the time African Americans were not included into white institutions, and we created our own spaces for leadership, education, and community uplift. So then after came the National Pan-Hellenic Council, who actually is the governing body of Black Greek organizations, which is known as the Divine Nine. Is comprised of all of the fraternities and sororities as a whole, where that it is it well we are all brothers and sisters here, just to say that. And that's basically what it's saying. So this wasn't just a social thing. It was a strategy. It was put in place for survival and service. So the thing is, what we're gonna be discussing tonight, like, has that changed over time? And from then as to now, because then it was service driven, it was purpose centered. Now, in some perceptions, as I want to say, is about status and image and exclusivity. And and then we have, and I hate to say that, but it's the all honest truth. Then we have social and pleasure clubs that mimic Greek culture, which can blur, the lines and add to the confusion about what Greek organizations are actually about. So, some of the positives, and I'm just giving y'all a little overall view before we get into this conversation. Like, what are the positives? Like, is about sisterhood and brotherhood, networking, lifelong bonds, community service, and you know, like I want to say, but I kind of like cut my words in half because I try to watch what I say without saying it. But you know, I just want to ask this question: like, what does Greek life get right, and why do people take pride in those letters? So I'm gonna ask that question.
I want to start. Good evening to my host, my sorrow, my line sister Keisha, my co my co-guest, Justin. Good evening. And I'm happy to jump in and start with an answer to that question. As you stated, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I believe our Greek lettered organizations get a lot right. I think we have not lost. There has not been a diminishing of the our historical traditions that are rooted in service and, as you mentioned, survival, right? And it was specifically around the survival of Black folks who were pursuing higher education at a time where, that was not open to us, or we were not welcome. It was, very, very, we had to go through many, many challenges to access higher education. So, one thing I want to emphasize that I don't think I heard you say, Keisha, and if you did say it, forgive me, but the emphasis on scholarship and scholarly pursuits and the importance of advancing one's education to advance the people, the community, that Black folks. And those two pieces, right, that service piece, the scholarship piece, is still ever present and prevalent in our Black Greek lettered organizations to this day. Um, in my both in my direct and lived experience as a member of one, and even before I was a member of one, I observed it from the outside. I saw it across the country because I've lived a number of places and I've seen the service and the depth of the service and the work that these organizations were doing, not just on college campuses, but within the communities, the cities, the states, the jurisdictions they exist in. Um, they hold a very deep and meaningful and powerful position in our social structures. And I think that has not changed, and I don't think it ever will. There are too many of us. I'll pause so others can speak to the question.
So do you have any questions, Justin? Because I know you're not Greek. So what do you think about, what Dr. Francois just described?
Well, yeah, like I want the audience to know I'm familiar with the Greek stuff from listening from what you're saying. It's like the Kappas and all them, right? That's what that is. I'm trying to get clarification
Yes.
before I start speaking.
We're Kappa, Alpha Kappa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, there are so there
Okay.
nine there are nine distinct Black, historically and predominantly Black Greek lettered organizations. And I did want to make a correction. Alpha Phi Alpha was founded in 1906.
Oh, well, Google gave me the dates.
Google is wrong. Alpha Phi,
Yeah,
Alpha Kappa Alpha is 1908. Yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, we are 1913, but we knew that already.
yeah, it says 1906 for Alpha Phi Alpha.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's right.
and for the Greek organization is 19, what did I say? 1908. Did I say that?
Alpha Kappa Alpha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin, I think that's the question you're asking. Yeah, there are 9 different organizations. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, I always knew about fraternities and sororities. I went to college, and I'm not gonna lie, and I'm kind of here because I'm not as knowledgeable with this topic as other topics I've been on the show. So I'm kind of here to play devil's advocate and to learn more.
Well, I knew that already.
Too, but, right, yeah. So I'm not. Things I say, it may come off. I ain't trying to be offensive or stuff like that, but I'm just here to give my little 2 cents, right? So I remember being in college, and I used to always I never understood, and this back when I was in college. I'm 20 years old. I never understood the whole fraternity and sorority things, and I'm not speaking on because, like I said, I'm still learning. From my understanding, the fraternities and stuff on my campus, like you had to pay to get into them. It was like a membership and stuff. I'm like, yo, why are these people paying to have friends? That's how I looked at it. But then again, I was on a football team, so that was, to me, now looking back on it, I was in a fraternity too, technically. Not trying to use that word loosely, because like I said, I don't.
You were.
But yeah, I was a part of a group and stuff like so. Being grown now, I kind of get it, but I still don't know. Like you mentioned something about the social club. Like I'm not a fan of Zulu, all them social. However, it's, I don't want to say wrong, but I feel like I'm not doing myself speaking on that unless I'm trying my best to gain more knowledge and get more information. So that's another reason why I'm on this call today, because I don't know about it, and I don't want to say I have like negative views. I just don't have an understanding. So subconsciously, I'm gonna take my negative views to me gonna be valid because I don't understand, but I'm here to get an understanding. Like to me, it's like a big ass social club, and I'm like, oh, what they doing all this? What's all this for? You know what I'm saying? So I'm listening to you tonight to get a better understanding.
Yeah. Justin, I really appreciate you raising that in this conversation, because there is in all these organizations, not just the Greek lettered organizations, but, Keisha mentioned social aid and pleasure clubs. And, here in New Orleans, we got these carnival clubs. So there are elements in these institutions, because that is what they are. They're not just organizations, they are institutions. There are elements that are unknown to those who are not in them, right? So, and you mentioned in your description of how these sort of Greek lettered organizations started in the US historically, they were started as these secret societies, right? So there's elements that are unknown and by design. And I do think that is an element that I think potentially can create negative perceptions, right? That get validated, right, in actual actions, right? Because we know among all these institutions and organizations, we can come up with many, many, many examples, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of them, of bad acts, right? So Justin, I think your point to me is well taken, because I do think the secretness of these organizations, and we have our reasons for them, I think serve to sort of perpetuate, perceptions that sometimes are unfounded, but sometimes are founded, right?
And I think, and just to go back to the history of secret foundations, it actually started like all of this actually started with the Masonic order. So the Masons were the first actually secret society, which dates back way to, I want to say maybe before 1910 or whatever. I didn't look that up, but I know it goes way back into slavery, where you had African Americans that had joined the Masonic order to help run the Underground Railroad. So a lot of Masonic brothers, because I am an Eastern Star as well, help to kind of guide that campaign of freeing slaves. So it began. It always starts first. Y'all know where everything always starts first, and then we come along and we kind of join. But I think that was a positive thing that was handed to us, whether a negative thing. But as it evolved over the years, I never forget when I got into when I first became an Eastern Star, and people were asking me, "Did you actually ride a white donkey?" Like, because that is the myth,
Is
right?
that like a religious thing?
Yes. So my daughter's grandmother told me at that time that I was joining a cult. So then, but she's a very religious person, right? So then when I became a Delta, she said, you went from bad to worse. You went from one cult to another cult. I said, well, actually, I belong to two cults, because once you with one, you it's forever. So,
well, that's my thing. When I was talking about the negative stuff, like, okay, so you just said something interesting, because I know last week we had the topic on religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that was one of our best shows. I feel had a lot of engagement and stuff like that. You said that I forgot. Somebody who's religious said, "Oh, you just joined this cult, blah blah blah." When religion is a cult in itself, but that's the question I got with these Greek things or whatever y'all call them, the institutions or whatever. Yeah, organization. What to me then at this point, every organization ever known is a cult then. Because like what people use cult in like a negative light, like, but people go to church every Sunday and they don't think that they are part of a cult. But you join a fraternity or the Greek thing, and now you in a cult, because it's not. They look at that as, well, you're not a part of my cult, but I'm not gonna call it a cult. But I don't know what y'all doing over there. I just know there's a lot of people and y'all secretive, so y'all a cult. So what is it in the Greek life that is not looked at in like a positive light, like as another cult, as like the church? Which people,
Justin, what's your definition of a cult? How would you define a cult? I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah, but
no, yeah, I'm about to tell you. My without having to like try to go to Google or anything, a cult to me is when you got a group of people who share the same values, morals, and beliefs, but the main difference is there's this one thing that is giving them this information or these beliefs. That could be the pastor, that could be a freaking banana, but their source is coming from this one specific thing, and that's that. That to me is the definition of cult. I know some people think of cult and they think of blood sacrifices and stuff like. No, a cult simply is this group of people who share these values, beliefs, and moral systems, but they're getting it from this one primary source that's giving it to them, and they look at that source as they're the divine whatever. That to me is what a cult is. So is that is in the Greek thing? Is there like a head master or like thing that y'all getting whatever from it? No, it's none of that.
No.
Okay.
No. There's
Okay,
no.
well, yeah, it's not a cult then.
Your definition of a cult, I agree with that.
Mhm.
Like
Okay.
it is this like shared system of beliefs, values, practices. I would add to that, there is a monetary element to it, right? Like people who
Church.
are part of like known cults, you gotta pay into that thing. But the piece you just said about like it all goes up to this one
Yeah.
source, right? Like a banana or
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to think of a known cult that we've talked about that that's been reported on a lot, like the Children of God, or what's the one, Jonestown?
Yes.
The Jonestown cult.
Yeah, that's
his name was something Jones. He was the figure
yep,
at the
I
top.
know, y'all.
So I agree with that definition of a cult. I do. In Greek-led organizations, that's not it.
Y'all just a team.
We're organized like a business.
But I think with any organized entity, right, you're supposed to have like-minded people. There are goals. When you're working, you have a job description, which are your goals towards the company's success. That I'm going to say that. So, in that sense, that you want to have like-minded people that are maybe on the same mission as you are to accomplish the goals that the company the organization is trying to accomplish as a whole successfully. So providing perfect health care to someone in a hospital. Every nurse has a code of ethics that they are bound to provide perfect health care, supposedly. Everyone with the profession that is licensed is under the guidelines, policies and procedures, bylaws, or whatever one wants to call them.
And they are called that.
Yes.
They are called that.
So that everyone is on the same accord ethically to provide the mission in which, that profession, that organization is trying to accomplish. So I do get it that I get what you like the Jones, like that. I think that's a different when I think
that's definitely different. That's not what yeah, that's not,
because a cult definitely doesn't have any structure, right? Because it's led by one person.
Well, no, that's not true at all. They got a lot of structure, actually. Well, their structure is this the source, and then everything else this under that. That's the structure. I see what you're saying. They don't have those many pieces that like maybe a organization or a business need, but that is their structure. It's this thing up here, and then everybody else down there.
Yeah, so and I know a lot of things happen, like even we all make mistakes. And with that being said, and I know where this is going, like if there are so many guidelines and policies and procedures and things like that, how do we have, because it is a trending thing on social media, which hazing has been a big thing.
It always has been.
It always
has. That okay.
And
that, yeah.
I argue it might always will be. No matter what we put in place, there's always, so in the social justice space, we talk about like the radical fringe or radical faction. you're gonna have that, right? Who want to say, no, this is the way it should be done. This is the way it was done. This was my experience. This is the way it was done with me. So this is the way we gonna do it. And I feel like that element might always be present in our organizations. We lost Justin.
Let's see.
Sorry, my bad. So I had to get on my phone real quick. Y'all can hear me though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we good. I'm sorry about that. Y'all continue. My bad.
No, but
and I just want to say, if y'all had people trying to stream on Facebook, Facebook is not working. So it is not streaming. StreamYard just sent a message saying that they're having issues with streaming through Facebook. So if you want to tell your followers to switch over to YouTube, it is definitely streaming on YouTube and Instagram.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got some people that watch on Instagram. I think they're already on there. But I do have people that was on Facebook too, though. So I'll probably let me check my text messages. Yeah, we need to get into the hazing that, because like I said, I wasn't too familiar with fraternities and sororities, but every time I hear something about them, somebody dying because they done did X, Y, and Z.
So Justin, let me share this, and I've shared this before with my sorors. So I did my process through, what is often referred to as a graduate chapter. Within our organization, it's alumni chapters. I did it when I was in college, as an undergrad, for two reasons. One, I was at a school that didn't have Greek letter organizations on campus at all as a policy on purpose. They didn't allow it. They didn't want none of it. But there were organizations at the nearby universities that they had chapters that you could do your process through, right? You could go to Rush. So actually, there's really three reasons I didn't do it as an undergrad. One, it was like, oh, my college don't have them, right? But I do have this opportunity at, another university. So I chose not to. One, or secondly, because of the cost. Honestly, like I grew up poor. Like I couldn't afford it, and I wasn't about to ask my mom.
Wait, time out real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but I gotta ask this.
Yes.
So it is true that there is some type of membership. Okay.
Oh yes. Yeah. Well, yes, there is a cost, and let's talk about that. So too, I wasn't about to ask my mama for that, because my mama would have been like, "B, what? Not for that." And number three, because my perception was that hazing was gonna be a part of it. And I would have never completed a process because I'd have fucked the bitch up. Excuse my language. But I had to say it like that.
And look, period. Clock it. So
we're not doing that.
Because that was a rumor. And I'm going to say rumored, alleged hazing in undergrad. Because we're going to say, because that was just something that...
That's what I was saying. As an undergrad, that was my perception that's what it's gonna be. And that perception, was like made it easy for me to say, well, no, I'm not even about to try.
Yeah. So, and that perception is a lot. And when you have people that are, like Justin is asking all these questions because they really don't know. And then when you have these people, I'm going to get into, and I'm going to go to this too. When you have these people that denounce and it's more common in sororities than it is in fraternities.
Because, women, we be
we so
We be on a lot.
we got a lot going on, girl. We got a lot going on, sis. But
I've never seen nothing happening with a sorority compared to the fraternity. It's always the frats with that.
Oh no, but it happens. Now,
it happens.
But it happens. Oh
yes.
And I've been seeing it a lot on when I come on TikTok. Like I'll scroll and you have this beautiful line that's come out at FAMU or somewhere else, and then you the next scroll, because you just never know where the hell you gonna land on TikTok, and it is messy like that. Then you see somebody saying, "Oh, I denounced my sorority because they had rituals, devil worshiper, and all this type of stuff." I'm like, girl, did you really cross the line? Like.
And I feel like, and this is my issue with the social media denunciations, right? Like, I be like, how much of this is real? How much of it is just so that they could get likes, comments, clicks? Y'all making stuff up. Like, what is this real? Is it valid?
I don't mean to interrupt again, but I'm asking questions. Denouncing is like saying I don't fuck with y'all no more.
Yes, but in a big way. In a big way.
Okay.
yeah.
In a big way. It's meant to embarrass the organization, really.
It is. That is ultimately the intent and the impact.
Yeah.
Right? It sullies the name and the image of the organization. And I do think that is the intent. And it works. It works.
So why is the question? Why are they doing this?
Why they're doing it? Because I'm gonna go back to, and this is what I had a discussion with one of my sorors, my good friend, and I'm gonna call her ass out, Nakia, who loves having debates with me on different things, but
she need to hop on here one Wednesday.
She does. So, and this is what I'm gonna go back to this. Everyone joins an organization for their own reason. Mm-hmm. The meaning of joining Delta for me is totally different from the meaning of what that meant for Samantha and 9,000 other women out here. Right. We all have a different reason as to why we join organizations. Mm-hmm. And I think because it looks like, when you put those letters on it, I mean, it really looks good to put that Delta, aka put that Q jacket on.
Nice. I ain't gonna lie. It looks like it should be cold. I ain't gonna lie.
It does.
It really looks cute, right? But it's more than that, because when I went into the organization, I had done my research as to what, and I had family members that were Deltas before me. But I had to do my research because I had to find an organization that best fit me. And when I started researching Delta, I saw all these social workers advocating in the suffrage movement. And that's how I identified. I saw myself in this organization. So that's why. And then I had this, I was like, okay, I could go in here. I'm good with developing programs and things like that, but life starts to happen, and then we get distracted from the goals that we have. So I have, and I must admit, because I know we have other sorors that watch. No, I am not as active as I should be, but I love the work of Delta. So, and I have had life circumstances that have prohibited me from being the best that I could be.
What y'all describing to me is like, because I try to relate, as I'm understanding, I'm trying to relate this stuff to, even though I wasn't in a fraternity, this stuff in my life. Like I said, I played football. Mm-hmm. It resonated when you were talking about the jackets and the uniforms. We had dudes who was on the team just so they could wear the jersey. Just so they can have some clout. Just so they could be like, hey, look, I'm on the football team. They wasn't going to play us down. They would never get in the game. Nothing like that. And I used to look at them like, yo, you coming to practice every day and you sweating. You ain't getting in the game. I could never. I got to play. I gotta be
think
getting the
that's a
ball.
great,
I'm
that's a
down.
great
But some
parallel.
people they just wanna wear the jersey. So
Yes.
what goes on in these fraternities? Like what I'm still struggling. Like what do y'all do? Do y'all go to events? Do y'all like I don't know what's the
Well, I'll give an example. I'll give not example. I'll answer that question with one thing that I know our chapter does. Every chapter across this nation and beyond, right? So one of our important pillars, I'll say, is social action, meaning we are showing up, and you'll hear me talk about social justice a lot because that particular pillar really spoke to my values in the organization. So I think we already had Delta Days at the Louisiana State Capitol because
we did. And then we had Social Action Day.
That was last week.
Yes.
So the Louisiana State Legislature is in session right now, where laws are being made right now that are going to affect our lives, our actual everyday lives, if you live in this state. The New Orleans Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has gone down to the state capitol to do advocacy, through education, through talking to state legislatures, to showing up, right? That's just one example. We go to the nation's capital as an organization, like, because we got, I wish I knew the number of chapters. I feel bad that I don't. But this is just one example, right? And this is not just alumni chapters, but it also our collegiate chapters are showing up politically like this to influence laws from the local level to the national level, and even internationally as well, because we have Delta Days at the United Nations. So this is that, like, that's just one example from one organization.
Y'all do a bunch of stuff, is what you're saying. It's not just one thing, y'all. Okay.
We do.
All right.
We do a lot.
So I can't think of, like, this is what makes me so proud about us. I love us so much because we are always going to stand 10 toes down for whatever we believe in. So I can't remember the mayor's name in Atlanta. I think her name was Keisha something.
Yeah, she was a soror.
Soror, and she partnered with another soror, and it turned the state with Atlanta from a red state to a blue state. So they were on a campaign.
Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Yes. So that, I mean, I don't care. People can say a lot of things and try to shed negative light on what belonging to a sorority is. But here you have a vice president who was an AKA, who basically told you straight up, don't vote.
We have a Supreme Court justice who is a Delta Sigma Theta member soror.
So
okay,
you have senators.
We didn't have several
good for y'all, because let's say
the first black woman to run for president was a member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated.
Yes.
Shirley Chisholm.
Yes.
So,
and these are women. These are women that did their process in college.
So that's one of the
young adults.
So I hear that. Like when I'm hearing about fraternities and stuff, I guess that's one of the benefits. Just like hypothetically speaking, like you fresh out of college and you looking for a job and you find out the hiring manager at such and such is like part of your. Not saying they gonna give it to you just cause, but you know what I'm saying. You're like, oh, you a capo or whatever. Like,
the network piece is real. The network piece is real.
Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. There ain't nothing wrong with that either. Don't say that. Yeah, like
and that's not a bad thing. No,
it's not a bad thing.
No.
Because one thing I can say, and I hate to say this, y'all, I really do, but you're not gonna find no dumb woman in a sorority.
Speaker.
So, and I just hate to say that.
I mean, it's built in the structure of these things.
Yes. So
it's built in the structure.
Any platform that I go on, it is like I'm gonna be that person. So I'm gonna be that person. So because I know that I have to live up to something because it's bigger than me. So I don't want to ever, and I had this conversation with somebody that was trying to go into undergrad, and and her grade point average was really, really low. And I told her, I said, there's no way you can't slide your way into Delta. You can't slide your way. You can do that in a social pleasure club because, see, none of that matters. See, all they want to do is collect your money.
Yeah, and that's why that scholarship piece, like that is the foundation. All of these organizations were founded on university campuses.
So you have a certain
because in the Black community, those of us who are descendant from enslaved Africans in this country, we knew education was the key. That was the key. And it's still the key.
It is still a key factor because, if you in undergrad and you decide you want, because, when I was at SUNO, I felt like I wasn't ready. It's not that I wasn't making the grades because I was on the honor roll the whole time I was in the undergrad program. But my education and getting what I needed from my program to self-develop myself into the social worker that I wanted to be, I felt like my education was more important of learning the foundation of my career. And then once I graduated, then I can go into a graduate chapter with the skill set where I would be ready and more mature to do the things that I needed to do. So
let's do this because I know we don't got too much more time. I want to do a hypothetical just so I can get a better understanding. I'm starting to learn a lot, but my main thing I want to get into is this. All right, mind you, this is a hypothetical. My name's Justina. I'm a female. I'm at this college and I want to get into y'all. I hear about the sorority. I'm like, oh, I don't got no friends. I don't mean that in a negative light. But I want to be a part of something. I hear about the sorority and I'm like, I'm talking to, like, I ran into you at the cafeteria. I'm like, oh, I want to get in this. How do I do it? Like, how do you recruit me? What I gotta do? How much I gotta pay? Is there the hazing process? That's a secretive thing that I don't know about. Do I gotta have a certain GPA? I gotta bring you my transcript. What gotta happen?
Yeah, there is no recruitment. There is no recruitment. All of the organizations have
what?
There's no recruitment.
No, it's
all
not
the organizations have a rush process
Mm-hmm.
where you go in, and that's open to everyone, right? If it's a sorority, if you are female, you show up to Rush and you get all the information you need. If you male, you show up to Rush, you get all the information you need to proceed. And when you get that information,
but not everybody go make it.
Information, then you as an individual need to make the decision if
Mm-hmm.
you want to take the next steps.
But I think
okay, so I was
the most important thing I want to say, I want to add to that, because the most important thing I want to add to that is making a decision to do whatever you want to do. Non-Greek, become Greek. You need to do your research to make sure that this is something that I want to be a part of. Because,
Yeah.
you know, we tend, and like I said, it's very easy to get, because see, you don't get jumped into sororities or fraternity. I'm not even going to spread that message because, you know, because you mentioned hazing again, and hazing is not a process. There's actually been,
It's
um,
illegal.
it's very
It's
illegal
illegal.
to
It's
haze.
Yeah, I
illegal.
saw they made like
It's
a little
illegal
law like that or
within
something.
the bylaws of the organizations. It's illegal within the institutions, i.e., the colleges and the universities that they sit within. It is illegal. So if it is happening, hazing is not a part of anybody's initiation processes. I can comfortably and confidently say that if it is happening, you know, shit, selling drugs is illegal,
Yeah,
but people do it.
Let's still do it, right?
yeah,
Okay.
they still,
Murder is illegal, and
but
people
people
do it.
exactly.
So why then? My question is, okay, I know why people sell drugs. I know why people murder, but that I'm not saying that's right. But I can draw a line of why somebody do this. What was the point of hazing in these? And I'm mainly speaking of fraternities because that's where I be hearing it from. I don't really hear about the sororities, but like you say, it happens. But I'm mainly speaking about the fraternity because people have died due to these things. So I'm saying, what's their purpose? Like, what is the that's the thing I'm trying to understand.
Well, we have individuals, right, that belong to, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna start here. We have individuals that that do wrong things, right? So even, and I'm gonna say this, you have bad doctors, you have bad nurses, you have bad teachers, because you know, even though you become a part of an organization, it doesn't basically change who you, it's not supposed to change who you are. But you know, people are that person before they become a part of an organization, because I always call like a police department that could be considered a gang and organized organization, because
It is.
Yes.
they like you put that uniform on, and I think it has everything to do with a uniform, right? Some of us can handle the responsibility of being on a platform of leadership, and some of us cannot handle that. And that goes, you know, like we don't check behavior health records when you are selecting assistants, because if that's the case, baby, I got a story.
Yeah, if we do behavioral health or psychological checks, our numbers will be low,
very low. So just like any organization that, you know, people are, you have the free will, right? Is a free will.
Right. As a American, as an
American,
red-blooded American.
So you have a free will to do these things. So, you know, whenever someone brings up a sorority or fraternity, they always bring up the part about hazing. But I think what we really want to say is sometimes that you have mean girls and mean boys. That's in anything.
What about Justin? So you mentioned you were an athlete. You played on a football team. I know, particularly in our HBCUs, our historically Black colleges and universities, the band, those marching bands, and the way that they operate, and the hazing that happens there.
The beatings I've heard of. Even
so you talk about like the football team. Because I don't know nothing about the band, but
but I know where I don't know about publicized or, you know, that have been made public incidents of hazing in like athletic organizations like a football team, a basketball team, certainly in marching bands.
Well, I could probably say it's because it is. Let's think about it. And once again, this is just I'm mentioning the hazing only because not to shine a negative light, but only because, like I told y'all before, and y'all know this, I'm not too familiar with the fraternity sorority stuff. But every time I hear something about it, it's that hazing. So I'm like, oh, what's going on there? But I think I could speak from the athletic standpoint. I gotta separate hazing and teasing. All right. Teasing happens more often in the athletic world because most of the time it will be one dude who he kind of weird. So you fuck with him and you tease, oh, you ain't playing, you ain't gonna never get in, you don't got blah 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 blah. He may do something crazy, but then it ends there. Hazing to me is more organized. It's more, and most of the time when I see the hazing, it's never one person. It's a line of motherfuckers, 20, 30 of them. How they get 20, 30 dudes to do? So to me, that's the difference between hazing and teasing. Like in more sports and maybe even in the band, it's more teasing than anything. And then you will have
I think
somebody else checking
bands, I think it's a hazing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can't speak. I don't want to speak on the bands. I don't know shit about the bands.
It's systematic,
Okay.
and I agree with you. That is the difference between hazing and teasing. But I think what I know about that have happened in some of these university marching bands is hazing.
Okay, which is weird to me because what y'all
It's
doing?
more than teasing.
Okay.
And for some reason, we turn a blind eye to what happens in the marching bands. And I know they've probably had multiple incidents where they will have died or have died, but you don't hear about those.
You hear about it.
You don't hear about that at all. But
you know why? I think this is a hypothesis. You know why I think that
it's a race thing, I think.
No, it's not about race. It's not. I don't think in this instance it's about. Well, yes, it is. It is ultimately about race. It's because a marching band, their purpose is to entertain.
Yes,
that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Mm-hmm. But our organizations, we political. We doing social action. We doing service. We trying to uplift. Mm-hmm. So that's why the light, when those things happen in our organizations, you're gonna hear about it. There's gonna be news coverage about it because we are Black organizations that got power. We got power by numbers. We got power by status. And it's like, how do we tear this down?
Yes.
So that power can't influence.
Yeah. Because
a marching band don't have that. They just entertain it.
Yeah, because once it's over for that.
They don't have no influence.
It's no political influence whatsoever. But as I said, you can go and count how many African American judges, congressmen, and senators are actually politically with Greek,
from the local to the national.
Yes,
and that are part of a Greek letter organization.
So why not tear these organizations down to make it seem like it's a cult? To shed the light on, this is not a good thing. This is what they do. It's not about, and I think it's more easily to influence the undergraduate because that's where you kind of see that denunciation thing happening, like in the undergrad chapter. And that's because these kids have not really done the research that they should have done before they join these organizations.
And I would argue they haven't done the work either.
No, they haven't done the work. And it's different.
The organization. They haven't done the work.
And then when you come from a family of Greek members, and you kind of see, because I know when Jalessa crossed, like, she's been a Delta, I don't want to say forever and a day. But, when we have these cousins and aunts and whoever who are already Greek, right? they join and they start bringing you the different things to kind of tag along with them, so you can kind of get a impression of what this is and what it would mean to you if you come into this organization. So when I would go to different events, and I think, I would always go to things with her because she started off with showing me like their sisterhood. Like when she calls her and her line sisters would go out, they would do things. And it all comes together now how she was showing me the bond that could happen if you get into and again, the networking that can happen. Then I started going to different events, and I never forget I went to this event. I think it was called the at that time Denim and Diamonds thing. I think somebody else does that now, but it had a theme to it. And I saw Cynthia McIntyre when she spoke. It's like she sealed the deal for me because that lady is so eloquent with words, right? And she talked about how she was a teenager, like in college. And she pledged this sorority and what that meant to her and the work she has done in the community. And it's like, and I see all these beautiful Black women, educated Black women in a room together, and I'm looking at, oh, I know her, she's a judge. Oh, I know her, I work with her, she's an attorney. Oh, I know her, she's a doctor or a lawyer. And then it started to register to me that, my Black people, like, we are it. We are. We are it. So when you see people, when I see these little girls and they're denouncing and they start talking, about cult activity and demonic worshiping and things like that, I'm like,
y'all making stuff up. Y'all sound crazy AF.
Like, and then they have the nerve to talk about their crossing process. Now, I'm not a part of your process because everybody's process is totally different. Like I said, everyone's experience is totally different. But I know
experiences. I don't.
Well,
I can't.
Like, so some is like, I know so good and well some of the things that have been said. It's like that can't, I try to validate everyone's feelings and emotions and things because that's the social worker in me, right? But then I'm listening to this and I'm like, child, you need to be seeing a psychiatrist because some man right here.
I think the problem is you.
Yeah. And
well, it was a good. I was glad I came on and listened to get a better understanding of what the fraternities and the sororities like. Us, y'all really generally answer a lot of questions that I made up on my own because I didn't know, and that's the problem with a lot of things I see, not just with this Greek stuff and the fraternities, but just in life. Because like I said last week, we had the conversation about religion, and then people just, when we don't know things, and sometimes when we're scared to find stuff out because we hear something negative about this, we make up our own shit. Yeah, and that's dangerous, because I'm not gonna lie. Before this call, I'm in this fraternity, I'm like, man, what you do to get up in there?
I really wish, and I know Keisha tried to get, for someone that's in a fraternity on the show tonight. And I really wish that you were able to get that perspective, right? Because I do think like there is similarities and some overlap, but there are some important distinctions as well for for our men in fraternities that we can't speak to.
Yeah, definitely can't.
You're right. Because I know I when I was at college, I saw the sororities. I ain't never, to me that was, and I'm not trying to sound sexist here, but that seemed like more of like a women thing, like a female type thing. So the fraternities to me were always,
It is.
I never understood the sororities. Okay, cool. That makes sense. But the
Mhm.
fraternity, I kind of want. But it wasn't until I got old and I had to mature. I was like, yo, technically, I was part of a fraternity myself, being on a sports team. So I can't be mad at these dudes. But at the same time, I still was like, yo, I be hearing some stories and.
Yeah.
Well, you know what y'all doing. I done seen some videos. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I'll have to. It was nice to see this. So get y'all point of view from the sorority side. But I'll probably have to go find somebody that's a member of a fraternity and get more from the male
She's
side.
friends with a whole bunch of bros. I don't know why ain't none of them want to jump on.
No, girl,
probably didn't want
everybody
to
in our
smoke. They didn't
podcast,
want to answer
everybody
these
in our
questions.
podcast ready, right?
They got all
Yeah,
Yeah, so they don't want to
person-
answer these questions.
Yeah, but the one person that may have come on, he had to work tonight.
Okay.
So he works in the afternoon. So he is gonna tune on, but he was working and he listens to the podcast when we on, and I called him. He was like, shoot, I wish I could have been on there because I would have had a lot to say, but I gotta work tonight.
Mhm.
So, and then the other ones, I don't know why y'all scared to get on the podcast, because and then I had, and I'm gonna call names on here. So Tiffany and I had a conversation last night, and she was like, I don't think y'all need to be saying what organization that you belong to and things like that. But I think it's important to say, because I am a proud member of the organization that I belong to. So I think it's important to shed light on, the myths of what happened in sororities, because like I said, you hear people denouncing and talking about all this craziness on TikTok that belong to sororities more than fraternities.
And I want to say a comment to that I think is important. We are not speaking for Delta
at all.
We do not and are not speaking for Delta. We are just speaking as members of Delta, as members of a Greek-blooded organization.
And that's it. That's all.
To piggyback off what you said about people not wanting to come on, or they scared. I'm 50-50. I see from their side, but I'm also one of those people who, like, yo, I'm gonna say like, some people really are like, what you doing, a lot of people can't do, or they're scared to do it. A lot of people, first of all, don't public speaking, even though we all in different places in our own privacy of our home or whatever. When you get in front of something and it could be two people watching you, they're like, oh shit, I need to watch what I need to say, or are they scared, or some people got jobs to where they can't say. So I get that part too. But like y'all said, you speaking, y'all didn't come on here and say, oh, y'all fraternities do this and they do that. Y'all spoke from y'all own. Y'all representing yourself and what, as you as a member, not as the sorority in itself. So I don't see no problem with how y'all spoke tonight.
Yeah, and I want to say
I was fully comfortable with that. Look, I mean, I'm wearing my letters.
Yeah, so
I know how to speak as a member of the organization, and I know how to not speak for the organization, because I don't.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
because that's something that we can't do. And because you can't speak for an organization, and that's something else I wanted to say too. An individual is not the organization,
right?
So
that's important too.
Yes,
that's important. That's an important statement to me.
Yeah, the individual
is not the organization.
So, was saying that when I was a cop.
Oh Lord,
you belong to a gang. That's a whole
no. Police departments have a lot more parallels to gangs.
Teacher, that need to be next week's topic. We need to do some type of law enforcement, because I know when I first came on the show it was me and you, but a lot of people want to know some stuff about what's going on. And me being a former cop, and I don't work for them no more, I'll tell all the secrets.
I
Well,
love that idea.
Well, we can do that next topic. So next topic, we're gonna talk about gang
Wait,
affiliation.
should we call it F the police?
Y'all
Yes,
can do
we
it. Y'all
can
can call it whatever y'all want. Cause I'm gonna just be truthful. I'm gonna give the good, the bad, the positive, and the negative. Like I said, I did 5 years in OPD in New Orleans East too, and on Bourbon Street, and I worked in Berkeley. But Berkeley ain't nothing. They don't got nothing going on out there. But in OPD, and we in New Orleans, people go if we promote that. You're gonna have everybody tuning in because they be like, oh, she got a former cop. We about to learn. Because cops be going to jail, stealing money.
You don't want to have a current police officer on here.
Oh, you should have a current one.
We can do a current, and then you got the former. So I can call them up like, hey, nigga, you lying.
Yeah. So let's do that next week, y'all. So that's next week's show. And I ain't gonna call it. Well, maybe we should call it F the police. But I like NOLA police officers.
Don't call it.
We'll come up with a title and a name that's neutral.
So I like our police, and we have like sorrows that are police officers.
Many.
So I can't say
that was a joke.
Yes, because David, when I call you, I still need y'all to come in 2 minutes in Gentility. I don't need you coming the next day. I still need that 2 minute window of
you in Gentility. New Orleans East, you waiting.
So y'all, so next week so Justin has named the topic. He want to tell all the secrets of the New Orleans Police Department, and any police officer out there that's listening and they're not scared to get on social media, because believe me, I know how hard it is to come on a podcast and speak freely, because I stumble over my words all the time, and I'm like, look, that I try to filter, because anybody that knows me know I don't have a damn filter. So y'all know how hard and difficult that shit is for this Gemini to try to filter whatever she has to say. So, y'all, we at the end of our time. We went like 9 minutes over. I think we did good tonight. Yeah. But I just want to say, like tonight wasn't about, like choosing sides. We weren't trying to defend anything. It was about understanding the different perspectives of, what we were trying to educate. Because for me, I felt like this was a very educational show more than anything, because we kind of covered all the topics. So whether you wear letters or not, your identity is still valid. I just want to let you know that. So legacy is power, but truth is necessary. And y'all know I always like to give my little reflections and things. So legacy is powerful, but truth is necessary. And loving something doesn't mean you can't question it. So you should question everything, because, that's the mindset of a reporter, right? Don't believe nothing you see. Always question everything that's before you. So that should be your intuition. And I just want to remind you guys to like and share, and also subscribe to my channel on YouTube. It's KPR Productions, LLC. So, and when you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, please share the podcast, because the information can't get out there if we're not sharing, right? So let's do a caring thing and share tonight. And again, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, and hopefully stream y'all won't have any issues next week. I think I'm gonna get rid of this streaming site, because it's always having some kind of complications, y'all. But we'll be back next Wednesday, because you know what? I love y'all, and I love giving y'all this information. So on that word, good night.
Good night.
All right.
And thank you guys for coming and giving me your time.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Yep, of course. Next week will be something. I can't wait already.
I know you can't, Justin.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. All right, y'all. All right.